Good Saturday morning. I'm KHOU meteorologist Kim Castro. We're just about 45 minutes away from the newscast. We wanted to bring you the latest weather updates. We're going to be updating you after the newscast and periodically throughout the day, keeping you a little bit more weather aware today because we need it. We are expecting storms not only this afternoon, but intensifying this evening and into early tomorrow with the possibility for some strong storms and even some isolated severe storms. So let's get right to it. Current temperature difference, it is noticeable. 22 degrees warmer than this exact same time yesterday morning. We're sitting at 60 degrees. We got plenty of cloud cover, some of that translating into some visibility issues. We're seeing a lot of that moisture filtering in from the Gulf, now tethered together, causing some condensation, which is also a warming process. So we're seeing those temperatures certainly increasing as we're seeing that flow from the south right now out of the east-southeast at 7 miles an hour. Speaking about visibility issues with some of that moisture translating into a haze, definitely a mist. I saw a drizzle as I was out this morning. So visibility issues from Brenham traveling to Hobby and vice versa, especially in these pockets you see there in red. That indicates some visibility that's reduced to just a couple hundred miles out ahead of you. So you certainly want to make sure you've got those low beam lights on, and if you can avoid hitting the roads early this morning, it is Saturday. Hopefully you're taking it nice and slow. That is recommended. Visibility in Houston right now and in Tomball down to half a mile. Conroe, you can see 3/4 of a mile out ahead of you, and the threshold anytime we get below 2 miles visibility like Hobby right now just at a mile, that's when you start to really see some issues when hitting the roads, and definitely some more elevated risk as you are traveling a motor vehicle, operating a motor vehicle rather. There's that low pressure system dragging in plenty of moisture from the Gulf. You can see it extends quite a ways away. And that's going to bring us the first of the wet weather this morning and into this afternoon by way of a warm front. So the more unsettled weather will come this evening into early tomorrow morning, but certainly already seeing some pockets of showers and even some thunder showers we saw a little bit earlier on this morning. And that's in Matagorda, getting into Wharton and Columbus and into Austin counties. Still seeing some of that wet weather there, but you could see the yellows and the reds, the thunder showers minimizing. Now just seeing some more shower activity, and we'll expect to see that throughout the day. Pop-up showers, so this isn't widespread throughout the area. We are going to see some pockets of rain that's really throughout our Saturday and into our early Sunday. Now some of those pockets could produce some lightning. We could see some heavier rain, some localized winds, and can't rule out the possibility of an isolated tornado. Now we'll talk about that in a moment, but future track 2:30 in the afternoon. So there's the warm front pushing through, giving us the shower activity, really tending to favor our western counties. That's what the models are showing. Well, we can certainly see that spill over, especially into this afternoon. It's going to be a very cloudy, very muggy, very warm day, a very big difference from what we saw yesterday, and that's all because of the push of the southerly wind bringing in that Gulf moisture. It's definitely going to feel very soupy, not only today, but into tomorrow. And behind the front that we're going to see push through, we'll see those temperatures drop into the start of our work week. So let's continue to fast forward through time. That's 5:30. As we get into the overnight hours, you'll see the organized line of convection. So that's the indicator of the cold front coming through, and that's when we're going to see the unsettled weather. So Huntsville to Conroe to Tomball and into Sugar Land, you're seeing those yellows, those thunder showers there popping up. That's 2:30 overnight tonight into early tomorrow. As we get into the 4:30 hour, now those thunder showers in Livingston, Conroe, pushing into Bush, a little bit further into the morning, 6 o'clock, and that's when we see the pockets kind of parked over Bush into the northeast, getting into Dayton there, and then pushing offshore. And really a lot of that moisture tending to wrap up after the 10 o'clock hour. We can still see some isolated pockets of rain until about noon. And then after that, I'm really thinking that we're going to start to get rid of at least the rain part of the moisture, but certainly still feeling very warm and on the sticky side. All right, the water vapor imagery, I think, really paints the picture for why we have the potential for some severe weather this afternoon. And here we go. So that's that low pressure area. It's going to be moving towards the northeast. Now, upper level winds are moving from west to east. And anytime we see kind of that perpendicular setup of wind is when we have the potential for some rotational components to these thunderstorms. Now, you'll notice this isn't perfectly perpendicular. This is moving to the northeast and this is moving to the east, but there's certainly the potential for these storms to meet up and cause a little bit of a rotation there, which is why there is a slight threat for maybe a spin up or two. Can't rule out the possibility of some water spouts too as this low pressure area continues to move towards us and then eventually towards the northeast. So we are on the low end of the spectrum for that severe threat, a marginal risk to see that happen. Most of the severe weather is really going to be focused around some periods of some heavy bursts of wind, some localized heavy rain, and not out of the question to see a little bit of street flooding. I'm thinking most of that is going to be confined, however, because as of right now, the models are showing that these storms are going to be moving rather quickly. All right, so strong winds with the passing of a couple of these storms. Can't rule out the possibility of some isolated hail, but that's really going to be to the northeast of us. Possibility for some heavy rain in some pockets, and then not ruling out the possibility of a spin up because like we talked about, the ingredients are there. We're seeing the shear, so that's when wind starts to oppose one another and we could start to see a little bit of a rotation. So those thunderstorms really flipping on the vertical, because usually a thunderstorm operates like this. This is the way that the engine works. And once we see the shear or the wind kind of kicking it in the opposite way is when we can start to see the vertical movement of those storms. All right, I want to show you two models and their prediction for what the rain will look like, the rain totals for today and into tomorrow. This is the RPM. And this model is really tending to show us at an inch or lower, and certainly lesser amounts to the north and to the western counties. Now, the GFS, the America model, the global forecast system, this one is showing some pockets of some heavier rainfall, especially as we push towards the coast. So between 1 to 2 inches, there we see Liberty ending up with 2 inches, Angleton ending up with 2.5, or 2 and 2/10, I should say. Now, I will say these models are starting to scale back on the rain potential. So they were showing between 1 to 2 inches just a few minutes ago, and even some localized spots getting up to 3 inches. Now, that's still a possibility in some of these heavier cells, but for the most part, it is not going to be widespread. So these showers and thunder showers will be isolated, and the potential for them to be strong and even severe even more isolated. So we do have to watch for this because we have all the ingredients there. We've got the moisture, we've got that front that's going to push through. So that's the cold air clashing with the warm air. And then the front lifts all of that up, coupled with the wind and the opposing wind, and we have the potential for some stronger storms, which is why we're going to be here throughout the day, before the newscast, during the newscast, and after the newscast, just to make sure we're watching this closely for you and keeping you up to date on the latest developments of the storms as they pass through. As for this afternoon, we're going to stay very soupy, muggy, cloudy, and very warm. 72 degrees by 5 o'clock. We're really not going to see much in the way of shifting temperatures for this afternoon and really into this evening. A chance for thunder showers at 7, and then we really start to ramp up the potential for some stronger storms as we head into the overnight hours. I would say really between 6 and 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So 6 tonight and 9 o'clock tomorrow morning is when we'll start to watch for some of these storms to bubble up. Our tailgate forecast, Titans versus the Texans tomorrow, still seeing about a 50% chance for some isolated showers. 73 degrees. We'll have a breeze coming in out of the south, which means we remain warm. 73 and 77 will be where we max out for tomorrow. Now behind the front, we'll start to usher in that cooler air. Our Monday will be breezy but dry. Temperatures in the upper 50s, very low 60s. We stay there through Tuesday, then start to see the gradual warm up once more as we head into the end of the work week and into the weekend with those rain chances coming back. So just be aware, make sure you've got our KHOU weather app downloaded and you stick with us in the forecast. We'll be live here at 9 o'clock. We will see you then and bring you the latest updates on what the models are showing.